Fleet Commander
Shields at maximum.
Stood on the bridge
Evasive
of his
maneuvers.
warship
Target the lead
and
destroyer.
looked at
Fire
the
at
blue
will.
planet below. It was beautiful in a simple way. Blue oceans, green lands, white clouds, nothing special. He had seen hundreds of worlds like this one. His species, the Velkari, had conquered 347 worlds across the galaxy. They were masters of war. Their ships were fast, their weapons were powerful, their soldiers were strong. No species had ever defeated them in battle. Zixthral clicked his mandibles together, a sign of boredom among his kind. This mission would be easy. Too easy. He had brought 144 warships for this conquest. It was probably too many, but the Dominion believed in overwhelming force. "Report," he said to his tactical officer. The officer pulled up data on the main screen. Third planet from a yellow star. They call it Earth. Population approximately 8 billion. Technology level is primitive. They use chemical rockets for space travel. They have nuclear weapons, but have not used them in war for many decades. They have no planetary defense system, no energy shields, no faster-than-light travel. Zixthral made a sound of amusement. They have nuclear weapons and choose not to use them? How strange. How weak. Yes, Commander, they appear to be a divided species. Many separate nations. They fight among themselves often, but with limited weapons. Our analysis suggests they lack the will for total war. Classification? Category 2, Commander. Agricultural world. Minimal resistance expected. Standard subjugation protocol recommended. Zixthral nodded. Category 2 was the second lowest threat level. Category 1 was for worlds with no intelligent life at all. These humans were barely above animals in the Velkari ranking system. "What do they call themselves?" he asked, not really caring about the answer. "They call their world Earth." "Earth," Zixthral repeated. The word meant nothing to him. He did not ask what it meant in the human languages. Why would he care? In a few days, this world would belong to the Dominion. The humans would serve or die. Their words and names would be forgotten. This was a mistake. A terrible mistake. But Zixthral did not know this yet. He looked at the planet again. His scanners showed the humans going about their normal lives. They drove their primitive vehicles. They worked in their buildings. They ate and slept and played. They had no idea that death was coming from the sky. "Begin the attack," Zixthral ordered. "Target their major population centers. Destroy their symbols of power. Show them the might of the Dominion." The fleet moved into position. 144 warships spread across the sky like a net. They positioned themselves above the largest human cities: New York, Beijing, Moscow, London, Mumbai, Tokyo, and many others. On the planet below, humans looked up and saw lights in the sky. Some thought they were stars. Some thought they were satellites. A few scientists at observation stations realized the truth, but it was too late to warn anyone. The first shots were fired at exactly midnight, Universal Earth time. Beams of plasma rained down from the sky. Buildings exploded. Streets melted. In seconds, millions of humans died. The great towers of their cities fell. Their monuments crumbled. Their governments went silent. Zixthral watched the destruction on his screens. He felt nothing. This was normal. This was what the Velkari did. They had done it 347 times before. "Ground forces are landing now," his officer reported. "Initial resistance is light. The humans are running." "Of course they are running," Zixthral said. "They are Category 2. They will run, then they will hide, then they will surrender. We will have full control within 6 hours." He was wrong. Very wrong. But in those first minutes, everything seemed to go according to plan. Velkari soldiers landed in the ruined cities. They were tall creatures, standing 8 feet high. Their skin was like armor. Their eyes could see in darkness. Each one carried a plasma rifle that could cut through steel. They were the finest soldiers in the galaxy. They marched through the burning streets. They shot any human who did not run. They took positions in the ruins. They sent back reports of easy victory. Then, something changed. The first sign of trouble came from New York City. A patrol of 12 Valkyrie soldiers was moving through a destroyed neighborhood. They were confident, relaxed. These primitive humans could not hurt them. A human female stepped out of the rubble. She was covered in dust and blood. She was holding a piece of metal pipe. She looked at the 12 armed soldiers. She did not run. The patrol leader found this amusing. "Surrender, creature," he said through his translator. "You cannot fight us." The woman smiled. It was not a friendly smile. She put 2 fingers in her mouth and whistled loudly. From the rubble around the patrol, more humans appeared. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. They came from broken buildings, from holes in the ground, from beneath piles of debris. They carried pipes and knives and broken glass. Some carried nothing at all, but their bare hands. The Valkyrie opened fire. Plasma bolts tore through human bodies. Dozens fell, but the rest kept coming. They did not stop. They did not run. They screamed with rage and crashed into the alien soldiers like a wave. The patrol was overwhelmed in seconds. The humans died by the dozens, but they did not stop until every Valkyrie soldier was dead. Then they took the plasma rifles from the bodies. The woman who had whistled picked up a weapon and tested its weight in her hands. "Now," she said to the survivors, "let's go hunting." Across the world, similar scenes were happening. The humans were not surrendering. They were not hiding. They were fighting back with a fury that the Valkyrie had never seen. In Moscow, a group of human scientists was already taking apart a crashed Valkyrie scout ship. They worked through the night, studying the alien technology, learning its secrets. In Mumbai, a mob of thousands attacked a Valkyrie landing zone. They used cars as weapons, driving them into the alien soldiers. They threw burning bottles of fuel. They fought with their hands and their teeth. Zixthral received the reports with growing confusion. This was not how Category 2 species behaved. They were supposed to surrender. They were supposed to accept their defeat. What were these humans doing? He did not understand yet. He would learn soon. The Valkyrie had made a terrible error. They had attacked a world without understanding what lived there. They had dismissed the humans as weak because they did not use their nuclear weapons on each other. They did not realize that this was not weakness. It was control. It was a choice. The humans had been holding themselves back. They had been fighting with one hand tied behind their backs because they knew what they were capable of. Now, the Valkyrie had given them permission to let go. They had given the humans an enemy that was not human, an enemy they could fight without guilt, without limits. The word earth meant soil, dirt, the ground where things are buried, where seeds are planted and grow into something terrible. The Valkyrie should have checked what that word meant. They should have wondered why a species would name their world after graves and growing things. It was too late now, and the harvest would be blood. The first day of the invasion ended with the Valkyrie in control of every major city on Earth. Their flags flew over the ruins. Their soldiers patrolled the streets. Their ships filled the sky. By all normal measures, they had won. But the night brought something different. Ground Commander Velnok was in charge of the occupation of North America. He had done this work many times, on many worlds. He knew how conquered species behaved. They hid during the day and cried during the night. They begged for food and mercy. They accepted their new masters. The humans did none of these things. When darkness fell, the attacks began. Small groups of humans came out of hiding. They moved through the shadows like ghosts. They attacked Valkyrie patrols with stolen weapons, with homemade bombs, with knives and clubs and bare hands. Velnok lost 37 soldiers on the first night. In his entire career, he had never lost that many in a single night of occupation duty. These were not battles. These were not organized military strikes. These were random attacks by random humans who seemed to have no fear of death. He sent a report to Fleet Commander Zixthral. "The humans are not behaving normally," he wrote. "They continue to resist. They attack without warning and without apparent leadership. Request additional forces." Zixthral read the report and felt the first small touch of worry. But he pushed it away. These were primitive creatures. They would learn their place soon enough. "Increase patrols," he ordered. "Show them our strength. They will break." The second day brought more surprises. The Velkari tried to establish control points throughout the cities. They set up checkpoints and demanded that humans register for work assignments. This was standard procedure on conquered worlds. Every single one. A Velkari officer tried to address a crowd of humans through a translator. He explained that they were now subjects of the Dominion. He told them their lives could be comfortable if they obeyed. He promised food and safety in exchange for obedience. A human threw a rock at his head. Then the whole crowd threw rocks. The officer had to be rescued by a combat team, and even then, 3 soldiers were injured. Velnok watched recordings of these events with growing concern. The humans showed no respect for Velkari authority. They showed no fear of Velkari weapons. They seemed almost happy to die if they could hurt their enemies first. He called in a specialist, a Velkari scientist who studied conquered species. Her name was Kethra, and she had written many papers on how to break the will of primitive races. "Watch these recordings," Velnok said. "Tell me what I am dealing with." Kethra watched for several hours. She studied human behavior patterns. She analyzed their facial expressions and body language. When she finished, her face was troubled. "This is very unusual," she said. "These creatures are not acting like a defeated species. They are acting like predators. That is impossible. They are Category 2. Our surveys confirm this." "Your surveys were wrong." Kethra pulled up data on her tablet. "Look at their history. These humans have been at war with each other continuously for thousands of years. They have developed weapons capable of destroying their entire planet. Their greatest heroes are warriors. Their stories celebrate combat and sacrifice." "Many species have wars," Velnok said. "That does not make them dangerous." "You do not understand. Most species fight wars to gain resources or territory. They stop fighting when the cost becomes too high. Humans are different. They fight for ideas, for honor, for revenge. They will accept any cost, any sacrifice, if they believe their cause is right." She showed him a recording from that morning. A human male, badly wounded, had crawled across an open street to throw a grenade at a Velkari position. He knew he would die. The soldiers saw him coming and shot him many times. But he kept crawling, kept moving forward, and threw the grenade with his last breath. "That man could have hidden," Kethra said. "He could have survived. He chose to die instead because he might take 1 or 2 of us with him. This is not the behavior of prey, Commander. This is the behavior of something else entirely." Velnok felt cold. "What do you suggest?" "Increase the violence. Show them that resistance is hopeless. Kill enough of them, and they will have to surrender." This was standard doctrine. It had worked on every world the Velkari had conquered. Velnok gave the order. Death squads began moving through human population centers. They gathered civilians and killed them publicly. They burned homes and destroyed food supplies. They did everything possible to show humans the price of resistance. The humans did not break. They got angrier. On the 3rd day, something happened that had never happened before in the history of the Velkari Dominion. A human unit attacked a Velkari base. Not raided, attacked. 200 humans with stolen weapons and homemade explosives assaulted a fortified position held by 50 Valkyrie soldiers. They lost over 100 fighters in the assault, but they took the base. They killed every Valkyrie soldier inside, and then they held it against 3 counterattacks. Velnok received the news while eating his morning meal. He stopped chewing and stared at the report for a long time. "How is this possible?" he asked quietly. "How are they organizing? We destroyed their communications. We killed their leaders." None of them had answers. The truth was something the Valkyrie could not understand, because they had never seen it before. Human beings did not need a central command to fight. They did not need orders from above. Every human was capable of leading. Every human was capable of deciding to fight on their own. When the Valkyrie killed a human leader, 2 more took their place. When they destroyed a human base, the survivors scattered and formed new groups. When they cut off human communications, the humans used runners and signals and written messages. They adapted instantly to every Valkyrie tactic. Kethra watched all of this with growing horror. She had studied dozens of species. She had never seen anything like this. "They are not fighting like a conquered people," she told Velnok on the 3rd evening. "They are fighting like we invaded their home, like we threatened their families, like this is personal. It is personal." He was beginning to understand. We attacked their world. We killed their people. To them, this is not politics or empire. This is survival. This is revenge. Then they will never stop. They will fight until they are all dead. Velnok looked out the window at the ruined city below. Fires burned in a dozen places. He could hear distant explosions as human fighters attacked another Valkyrie patrol. "Then we will have to kill them all," he said. But even as he spoke the words, he knew it would not be that simple. There were 8 billion humans on this planet. The Valkyrie had brought enough soldiers to control a conquered population, not to fight a war of extinction. They had made a terrible mistake. They had poked a nest of something dangerous, and now they would have to deal with what came out. On the bridge of his flagship, Zixthral received Velnok's latest report. It was not good news. Human resistance was increasing instead of decreasing. Something was very wrong with this invasion. He called for a full analysis of human culture and history. He wanted to know everything about these creatures. He wanted to know what he was really dealing with. The analysis would take 2 days to complete. When it arrived, Zixthral would finally understand the truth. He would finally know why the Valkyrie should never have come to this world. But by then, it would be far too late to change anything. The 4th day of the invasion began with rain. Heavy clouds covered the sky, and water fell in sheets across the ruined cities of Earth. The Valkyrie soldiers hated the rain. It made their equipment malfunction. It limited their vision. It made them slow and uncomfortable. The humans loved the rain. They used it as cover. All across the planet, human fighters launched coordinated attacks under the gray sky. They struck supply depots and communication centers. They ambushed patrols and convoys. They seemed to be everywhere at once. Fleet Commander Zixthral watched the reports come in with growing disbelief. How were the humans coordinating these attacks? The Valkyrie had destroyed their satellites, jammed their radio frequencies, and killed most of their military leaders. And yet the humans were fighting as a unified force. The answer came from a captured human fighter. She was a young woman, maybe 20 years old. She had been shot 3 times during a raid, but had still managed to kill 2 Valkyrie soldiers before being captured. The interrogator showed her image to Zixthral. "She refuses to give us useful information, but she did say something strange." "What did she say?" "She said, 'You don't understand what you're fighting. We've been preparing for this our whole lives.'" "Preparing? Preparing for what?" "I do not think she meant preparing for us specifically. I think she meant preparing for war in general. Zixthral considered this. It made no sense to him. How could a species prepare for war against an enemy they had never met? The answer came in the cultural analysis he had requested. The report was long and detailed, and as Zixthral read it, his confidence began to break apart like ice in warm water. These humans had been at war with each other for their entire recorded history. 10,000 years of continuous conflict. They had fought over land, over water, over gold, over oil, over religion, over ideas, over words, over imaginary lines on maps. They had developed every possible weapon and tactic. They had studied war the way other species studied science or art. Their greatest heroes were warriors. Their most famous stories were about battles. Their children played games about combat. Their entertainment was filled with violence. More than this, the humans had imagined alien invasion thousands of times. They had written books about it. They had made movies about it. They had created games about it. In their minds, they had already fought the Velkari 1,000 times before the Velkari ever arrived. Zixthral read about something called guerrilla warfare. It was a human invention, a way for small groups of fighters to defeat larger armies through patience, surprise, and constant harassment. The humans had perfected this technique over centuries of practice. He read about human special forces, elite warriors trained to operate behind enemy lines, to kill silently, to survive in any environment, to never surrender, to never break. He read about human improvised weapons, the ability to turn any object into a tool of death. Pipes became clubs, bottles became bombs, kitchen knives became killing tools. Humans could make weapons from anything. But the most disturbing part of the report was about human psychology. Most species had a breaking point. Apply enough pressure, cause enough pain, and they would surrender. They would accept defeat. They would give up. Humans did not work this way. The report described something called spite. When pushed too hard, humans would sometimes choose to hurt their enemies, even if it meant hurting themselves more. They would destroy things they valued, rather than let their enemies have them. They would die laughing if they knew their death would cause their enemy pain. The report described something called revenge. Humans would remember injuries for generations. They would wait years or decades for the chance to strike back. They would sacrifice everything for the pleasure of evening the score. The report described something called stubbornness. Humans would continue fighting long after any rational calculation showed they could not win. They would fight for pride, for honor, for the simple refusal to admit defeat. Zixthral put down the report and sat in silence for a long time. "We have made a mistake," he said finally. "We have attacked a species that does not know how to surrender." His aide waited for orders. "Tell Ground Commander Velnok to prepare for extended operations. This will not be a quick conquest. This will be a war." But the humans were already proving that even extended operations might not be enough. On the 5th day, a human teenager walked into a Velkari command post. He was young, maybe 16 years old. He was smiling. He was wearing a heavy coat, even though the weather was warm. The guards should have been suspicious. They should have stopped him, searched him, questioned him. But they were tired and frustrated and angry after days of constant attacks. They did not see the threat until it was too late. The teenager opened his coat and pressed a button. The explosion destroyed the command post and killed every Velkari inside. 37 soldiers, 3 officers, a communication hub that had taken 2 days to set up. A human child had traded his life for 37 Velkari, and he had done it with a smile on his face. Reports of similar attacks came from around the world. Humans were volunteering for missions they knew would kill them. Not just soldiers, not just fighters, ordinary people, teachers, farmers, shop workers, parents. They were lining up to die if their deaths could hurt the enemy. Ground Commander Velnok called a meeting of his senior officers. "We need to understand what we are facing," he said. "These humans are not normal. They are not rational. They are dying by the thousands, and they show no signs of stopping." One of his officers spoke up. "Perhaps we should increase the violence further, destroy more of their cities, kill more of their people. Eventually, they must break." Velnok shook his head. "I do not think they will break. I think they will fight harder. Every human we kill creates more enemies. Their families, their friends, their neighbors, all of them take up weapons." "Then what do you suggest?" Velnok was silent for a long moment. "I am beginning to think we cannot win this war. Not with the forces we have. We would need 10 times as many soldiers, 100 times, and even then, I am not sure." The officers stared at him in shock. No Valkyrie commander had ever spoken of defeat. The Dominion did not lose. The Dominion had conquered 347 worlds. They were invincible. But they had never fought humans before. On the 6th day, the humans did something impossible. A group of fighters captured a Valkyrie shuttle intact. They killed the crew and took the ship to a hidden location. Within hours, human scientists were taking it apart, studying every component, learning its secrets. When Velnok heard this report, he felt real fear for the first time. "They learn too fast," he said. "They adapt too quickly. If they understand our technology, they will use it against us." He was right. Within 2 days, the humans had figured out how Valkyrie plasma rifles worked. They could not build new ones yet, but they could repair damaged ones. They could modify them. They could improve them. Human engineers were already talking about building their own versions. Human scientists were studying the shuttle's engine, trying to understand faster-than-light travel. Human soldiers were wearing pieces of Valkyrie armor taken from the dead. The prey was becoming the predator, and the Valkyrie were running out of time. Zixthral looked at the latest reports and made a decision. He opened a communication channel to the Dominion homeworld. He would need to explain the situation. He would need to request reinforcements, many reinforcements. But as he prepared his message, he wondered if even that would be enough. These humans were different from any species the Valkyrie had encountered. They did not fight like normal creatures. They fought like something that had been waiting for this moment their entire existence. Like something that was finally free to show what it truly was. Zixthral thought about the name of this world, Earth. He still did not know what it meant. But he was beginning to think it meant something important. Something he should have discovered before he gave the order to attack. It was too late now. The war had begun, and the humans were just getting started. The 8th day of the invasion brought the full linguistic analysis that Fleet Commander Zixthral had ordered. He read it alone in his quarters, and with each page, his understanding of the situation grew darker. The word Earth was not just a name, it was a meaning. In nearly every human language, the word meant the same thing: soil, dirt, ground, the substance beneath their feet, the place where they buried their dead, the place where seeds were planted and things grew. Zixthral thought about this for a long time. Why would a species name their world after dirt? It seemed like a humble choice, an insignificant choice, but the more he read, the more he understood. The humans were connected to their ground in ways that other species were not. They grew their food from it, they built their homes on it, they buried their ancestors in it, and they would fight to the death to defend it. The analysis included translations of human war poetry and songs. Zixthral read them with growing horror. One poem talked about the earth remembering the blood of fallen soldiers. Another described warriors returning to the soil after death. A song proclaimed that enemies would be buried in the ground they tried to take. To humans, their planet was not just a place to live, it was part of them. An attack on Earth was an attack on their very identity. No wonder they fought so hard. No wonder they refused to surrender. The analysis also revealed something else disturbing. The humans had a concept called total war. Unlike most species, who fought limited conflicts with limited goals, humans were capable of committing their entire civilization to war. Every factory would make weapons. Every person would become a soldier. Every resource would serve the war effort. The Valkyrie had triggered this response. In attacking civilian cities, in killing innocent people, they had united humanity in a way that had never happened before in human history. Old enemies were now allies. Old hatreds were forgotten. Every human on the planet had one single purpose now: destroy the invaders. Zyxthral sent for Kethra, the scientist who studied conquered species. She arrived looking exhausted. The past week had been hard on everyone. "I have read the linguistic analysis," Zyxthral said. "Tell me what else you have learned about these creatures." Kethra sat down heavily. "They are unlike anything in our records. They evolved as persistence predators. Do you know what that means?" "Explain it to me." "Most predators are faster or stronger than their prey. They catch their food through speed or power. Humans are neither fast nor strong compared to the animals of their world. Instead, they hunt by following their prey until it collapses from exhaustion. They can walk and run for longer than almost any other creature. They never give up. They never stop." Zyxthral considered this. "We are faster and stronger than them. But they keep coming." "Exactly. They are doing to us what their ancestors did to animals. They are hunting us, not with speed or power, but with patience and determination. They attack, then rest, then attack again. They never stop. Eventually we will make mistakes from exhaustion. Eventually we will run out of supplies. Eventually they will win. That is not acceptable. It may not be avoidable." Kethra pulled out her tablet. "Look at these numbers. We have lost over 2,000 soldiers in 8 days. The humans have lost perhaps 200,000 fighters. By normal calculations, we are winning decisively. But they have 8 billion people. We have less than 50,000 soldiers on the ground. They can absorb losses that would destroy us. And every day, more of them are taking up weapons. Every day, they get better at fighting us." She showed him footage from that morning. A group of human fighters was moving through a ruined city. They used hand signals to communicate silently. They covered each other as they advanced. They moved like professionals, like soldiers who had trained for years. "These humans were ordinary civilians 2 weeks ago," Kethra said. "Shopkeepers, office workers, students. Now look at them. They have learned to fight. They have learned to kill. And they are teaching others." Zyxthral watched the footage in silence. The humans moved with confidence now. They knew the city better than his soldiers did. They knew where to hide, where to ambush, where to trap their enemies. "There is something else," Kethra said. "Something that troubles me deeply." "What is it?" "The humans should be fighting among themselves. Our usual strategy is to encourage divisions within conquered populations. We offer rewards to those who cooperate. We punish those who resist. We turn them against each other. This has not worked? Not at all. Before we arrived, these humans were divided into hundreds of nations. They spoke different languages. They followed different religions. They had ancient hatreds that went back centuries. We expected these divisions to help us. And instead, they have united completely. Russians are fighting alongside Americans. Chinese are fighting alongside Indians. Muslims are fighting alongside Christians. All of their old conflicts have been set aside. They have found something they hate more than each other. Us. Yes, us. We have given them a common enemy. We have given them a reason to stop fighting each other, and start fighting together. Zixtral stood and walked to the window. Below, the blue planet turned slowly. It looked so peaceful from up here, so quiet. But he knew that on the surface, war was raging. His soldiers were dying. His plans were failing. "What do you recommend?" he asked. Kethra was silent for a long moment. "I recommend we leave." Zixtral turned sharply. "Leave? The Dominion does not retreat. The Dominion has never retreated. The Dominion has never fought humans before." Kethra met his eyes. "Commander, I have studied dozens of conquered species. I understand how resistance works and how to break it. These humans cannot be broken. Not by us, not with the forces we have. If we bring more ships, more soldiers, and we commit more resources to a war we may still lose. And even if we win, what will we have? A dead planet, a species exterminated, no workers, no resources, no value." Zixtral thought about the Dominion leadership. They would never accept a retreat. They would never admit that a primitive species had defeated them. They would send more ships, more soldiers, more weapons, and the humans would fight them all. He thought about the word Earth again. Dirt, soil, the place where things are buried. The humans had named their world after graves. Perhaps they had always known what they were. Perhaps they had always been waiting for someone to give them a reason to show it. "I will consider your recommendation," Zixtral said finally, "but I will not order a retreat without trying everything else first." Kethra nodded sadly. "I understand, but when you have tried everything else and failed, remember what I said. These creatures are not prey. They are not victims. They are something we have never encountered before, something that should not exist, but does." "What are they?" Kethra thought for a moment. "They are what happens when a predator evolves to hunt itself. They are what happens when a species spends 10,000 years learning to kill the most dangerous creature on its planet, each other. They are veterans of a war that never ended, and we just gave them a new target." She stood to leave. At the door, she paused. "There is one more thing, Commander. A transmission we intercepted this morning. It was being broadcast from somewhere on the planet. I think it was meant for us." "What did it say?" "It said you came to Earth looking for an easy conquest. You forgot to check what grows in this soil. We have been growing soldiers here for 10,000 years. Welcome to the harvest." Zixtral felt a chill run through his body. The harvest. Yes, that was exactly what this was. And the Velkari were being reaped. He turned back to the window and watched the planet below. Somewhere down there, humans were preparing their next attack. They were learning, adapting, growing stronger. And time was running out for the Velkari Dominion. The 12th day of the invasion began with an explosion that shook the flagship itself. Fleet Commander Zixtral was thrown from his sleeping platform as the ship rocked violently. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered. He stumbled to the bridge, still half-dressed, and found chaos. "Report!" he demanded. His tactical officer was staring at the screens with an expression of pure disbelief. "Commander, a human vessel just penetrated our shields and struck the engineering section." "A human vessel? Impossible. They do not have faster-than-light capability." "They do now." The officer pointed at the screen. It showed debris floating in space, the remains of a small ship. "We recovered data from the wreckage. It was a human rocket. They attached a Velkari FTL drive to it. They flew it directly into our ship." Zixtral felt his legs go weak. The humans had figured out faster-than-light travel. They had taken Velkari technology and made it work for them. They had built a ship capable of reaching the fleet in orbit, and they had used that ship as a weapon. "Damage report," he said quietly. "Engineering is badly damaged. We'd have lost main power. Shields are at 30%. Life support is functioning on backup systems. Can we fight?" "Not effectively, Commander." Zixtral looked at the tactical display. It showed his fleet, 144 ships strong when the invasion began. Now he counted 81. They had lost 63 warships in 12 days, not to human weapons on the ground, not to their primitive rockets, but to captured Valkyrie technology turned against its makers. The humans had shot down ships with modified plasma cannons. They had hacked into Valkyrie communication systems and sent false orders. They had used Valkyrie shuttles as bombs, crashing them into larger vessels. And now they had built their own FTL ship. Or rather, they had stolen the parts for one and figured out how to use them. On the planet below, the situation was even worse. Human fighters now controlled more territory than the Valkyrie. They had captured weapons, vehicles, and equipment. They had learned to use everything. Some of them were even wearing Valkyrie armor. Ground Commander Velnok had sent his final report 3 hours ago. He was trapped in a shrinking perimeter with less than 5,000 soldiers. The humans were closing in from all sides. He estimated he had 2 days, maybe 3, before he was overrun. "Commander," the tactical officer said, "we are receiving a transmission from the planet's surface." On screen, a human face appeared. It was an old man, weathered and tired, wearing a military uniform covered with symbols and medals. He looked directly at the camera, with eyes that held no fear. "This is Fleet Admiral Chen Wei, of the United Earth Defense Coalition," he said. "We did not have that name 2 weeks ago. We do now. You gave us something we have never had before. A reason to stop fighting each other." Zixfral stared at the screen. The human continued speaking. "For 10,000 years, we have been at war with ourselves. We have developed every weapon, every tactic, every strategy that minds can create. We have fought in jungles and deserts, on mountains and in cities, across oceans and in the air. We have killed millions of our own kind. We have gotten very, very good at it." The old man smiled slightly. It was not a friendly smile. "We always knew something else was out there. We looked at the stars and wondered who would come first. Would they be friends? Would they be enemies? We hoped for friends, but we prepared for enemies. We built weapons that could destroy our own world, just in case we needed to fight something bigger than ourselves." Admiral Chen leaned forward slightly. "You came to us thinking we were prey, thinking we were weak, thinking we would roll over and show our bellies like good little conquered creatures. You made a mistake. We are not prey. We are the most successful predators our planet has ever produced. We hunt, we kill, we win." Zixthral wanted to turn off the transmission, but he could not look away. "Run home, Commander. Run home and tell your Dominion what you found here. Tell them about the world called Earth. Tell them the word means dirt, soil, ground. Tell them it means the place where we bury our dead and plant our seeds. Tell them we have been growing soldiers in this soil for 10,000 years. Tell them we are grateful you came." The old man smiled again, and this time it was almost warm. "You united us. For the first time in our history, we are one people, one species, one planet. We have stopped fighting each other. We have found something better to fight. You gave us that gift. We will never forget it." He held up a piece of paper. "This is the location of your homeworld. We calculated it from navigation data we found in captured ships. Your translation systems work both ways, Commander. We can read your language now. We know where you came from." Zixthral felt ice in his blood. "Tell your Dominion this. Earth is coming. We do not know when. We do not know how. But we are coming. We will build ships. We will learn your technology. We will cross the stars. And we will find you." Admiral Chen lowered the paper. "You wanted to conquer Earth. Instead, you woke it up. You showed us we are not alone in the universe. You showed us there are enemies out there worth fighting. Real enemies. Worthy enemies." He nodded slowly. "Thank you for that. Thank you for giving us a purpose. Now run. Run home, and tell them we are coming." The transmission ended. Zixthral stood in silence for a long moment. His officers waited, afraid to speak. Finally, he gave the order. "All ships, prepare for immediate withdrawal. We are leaving this system." "Commander?" His tactical officer looked shocked. The Dominion has never faced humans before." Zixthral turned to face his crew. "We are leaving. We will return to our homeworld. We will warn our leaders about what we have found here, and we will prepare." "Prepare for what, Commander?" Zixthral looked back at the blue planet on the screen. It looked so peaceful, so quiet. But he knew now what lived there, what grew in that soil. "Prepare for them to come to us, because they will. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year. They are hunters. They are predators, and we have shown them we exist." The fleet began to move. 81 ships, all that remained of the invasion force, turned away from Earth and began the journey home. As they accelerated toward the jump point, Zixthral sat down heavily in his command chair. He had failed. The Dominion had failed. For the first time in their history, they had been defeated by a primitive species that should have been easy prey. But it was worse than defeat. It was the beginning of something new, something terrible. The humans were coming. 3 months later, the first human ship left Earth's orbit. It was crude, a mixture of human and Valkyrie technology, held together with determination and hope. It carried a crew of 12 volunteers who knew they might never return. They were not explorers. They were scouts. The first wave of something larger. On the bridge of that little ship, the captain looked at the stars and smiled. "We're coming," she whispered. "We're finally coming." Behind her, Earth turned slowly in the darkness, blue and green and white, the cradle of humanity, the soil where soldiers grew. The galaxy would never be the same. 1 year after the invasion, the Valkyrie received a message from the edge of their space. It was a human ship, requesting permission to land, permission to talk, permission to negotiate. The Dominion leaders did not know what to do. They had never negotiated with a conquered species. They had never needed to. But these humans had not been conquered. These humans had won, and now they wanted to talk about what came next. The word Earth had been added to the Galactic Species database with a new classification. It was the highest threat level possible. The entry was simple. Species, human. Homeworld, Earth. Meaning of name, soil, dirt, ground, where things are buried, where things grow. Classification, do not engage, do not provoke, do not land on Earth. Special note, they were waiting for us. They have been waiting for 10,000 years. They are awake now, and they are coming. The entry ended with a single recommendation, written by Fleet Commander Zixthral himself. Pray to whatever gods you have. Apologize to Earth, and hope they accept. The humans had named their world well. Earth, dirt, the ground where things are buried, the soil where soldiers grow. The Valkyrie should have checked the name before they attacked. They should have wondered what kind of species names their world after graves and growing things. Now they knew. Now the whole galaxy would know. Earth was awake, and the harvest had only just begun.